today, I will be discussing about the types of learning. As we all know that learning is everywhere. We can learn mental skills and develop our attitudes and acquire new physical skills as we perform the activities of our daily living. In this video, we are going to learn about the domains or types of learning. So these domains can be categorized into three. These are the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. But for now, I will only focus on discuss the first type of learning, which is the cognitive domain, and I will also discuss the function of its categories or levels. But before we go deeper with our discussion for today, let us have some review first. We should take note that the domains that I have mentioned earlier, they are the important sources of SLO. So what is SLO?
Student Learning Outcomes, or SLO, are skills, competencies, and values that the students are expected to demonstrate at the end of every course or subject. They are stated from the viewpoint of the students using concrete active verbs such as to demonstrate, to explain, to differentiate, to illustrate, and etc.
So meaning, from the word itself outcomes, these are the achieved results of what was learned. So to make it clear, these are the evidences that learning really took place.
An example of student learning outcome is this. Students will be able to identify and describe assigned cell organelles with 80% accuracy. So, this example would be considered a student learning outcome because it specifically describes what a student needs to be able to do, including the level of accuracy they are expected to attain.
Take note that SLOs are measurable and observable outcomes. So now, let us go back to our main topic.
Benjamin Bloom and a committee of colleagues in 1956 identified three domains of educational activities, namely, the cognitive, referring to mental skills. Second one, affective, referring to growth in feeling or emotion. And the last one, psychomotor, referring to manual or physical skills.
They found out these terms too technical, so they decided to change or translate these terms into simpler terms which are commonly used by teachers. The cognitive was translated into knowledge, the psychomotor into skills, and the affective into attitudes, or the KSA.
Okay, let us move forward to cognitive domain or the knowledge. Again, I just want to remind you that this will be our focus on this video, and there are still two domains that I hope to discuss if we still have time on my next videos. The cognitive domain aims to develop the mental skills and the acquisition of knowledge of the individual. From its original version, this domain encompasses of 6 categories which include knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. To ensure that the learning outcomes are measurable, demonstrable, and verifiable, the outcomes should be stated as concrete and active verbs. In mid-90s, a former student of Bloom reviewed the cognitive domain objectives and effected some changes. The two prominent of these are the A. Changing of names in the 6 subdivisions from noun to verb, and B. Slightly rearranging the order. So as you can see, there are changes. In the original version, the categories are stated into nouns, and now in its new version, it is stated into verb form, and there are a few changes in the order. There are 6 major categories of cognitive processes, starting from the simplest to the most complex. The first level is remembering, followed by understanding, and then applying, analyzing, evaluating, and then last one, creating. Okay, now let us start with remembering. So what is remembering? Remembering, it is the recall of previously learned information. So remembering, it is the lowest level of learning in the cognitive domain in Bloom's taxonomy and typically does not bring about a change in behavior. It involves memorization and recall of information with no evidence of understanding. Learners absorb, remember, recognize, and recall information. However, it is the building block of all subsequent levels of learning because the learner must remember information presented before progressing to the next levels. The outcomes verbs of remembering are: first, define, list, describe, identify, label, name, state, and etc. Examples of remembering are: match the word with the parts of the picture of a tree, or recite the alphabet. So the next level is understanding. Understanding, it is comprehending the meaning, translation, and interpretation of instruction. Okay, so in the understanding level, it is constructing meaning from oral, written, and graphic messages through interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, and explaining. The outcomes verbs are distinguish, estimate, explain, give example, paraphrase, and summarize. The learning outcome statements are: explain in one's words the stages of life cycle of a butterfly, and distinguish the different geometric figures. The third level is applying. It is using what was learned in the classroom in similar situations. So, application refers to the ability to use learned material in new and concrete situations. This may include the application of such things as rules, methods, concepts, principles, laws, and theories. Learning outcomes in this area require a higher level of understanding than those of comprehension. The outcomes verbs are apply, change, compute, construct, demonstrate, modify, discover, and solve. The learning outcome statements or the example of this level are: use mathematical formula to solve an algebra problem, and prepare daily menu for 1 week for a family of 6. The next level is analyzing. It is separating materials or concept into component parts. So, analyzing level is where students use their own judgment to begin analyzing the knowledge they have learned. At this point, they begin understanding the underlying structure to knowledge and also are able to distinguish between fact and opinion. The outcomes verbs of this level are analyze, compare, contrast, diagram, and etc. And the learning outcome statements or examples are: observe a classroom and list down the things to be improved, and differentiate the 3 types of rocks. So the fifth level is evaluating. It is judging the value of an idea, object, or material. In this level, the students make judgments about the values of ideas, items, materials, and more. The outcomes verbs are compare, conclude, criticize, critique, defend, evaluate, and justify. The learning outcome statements of this level are: defend a research proposal, or elect the most effective solution. And finally, the last level is creating. It is building a structure or pattern or putting parts together. So, this level encourages students to demonstrate their knowledge by building something tangible or conceptual. The outcomes verbs of this level are: categorize, combine, compile, compose, design, organize, and generate. And the examples: compile personal records and documents into a portfolio, and write a lesson plan of a lesson. Again, what I talked about is the first type of learning, which is the cognitive domain. It has 6 categories or levels, namely remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating.
So that's all, and I hope you get something about the things being discussed. Again, this is Rachel May Alentorio taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education at St. Francis College, Gilner, saying, bye-bye, have a great day!